welcome back to Divine Decode, the podcast where we explore the inner clarity that powers outer excellence. I'm your host, Pragya Malvia, and if you have ever wondered why some people thrive under extreme pressure while others freeze, today's episode is for you. Our guest, Dr. Albert, is not your typical performance psychologist. He has worked with elite athletes, top CEOs, and creative leaders for decades. And here's what's fascinating, he does not just focus on strategy or mindset, he brings in something deeper: intuition, ego, and presence, the mental trifecta behind real mastery. So let me ask you this: what really drives success? Is it hard work, the confidence of ego, or the quiet power of intuition? Today, we are decoding it all. Grab a coffee, take a deep breath. This episode might just change the way you show up in life. Thank you, Albert. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
That is such an honor. Also, Albert, we hear phrases like trust your gut and follow your instincts. These are also
Mm.
written in self-help books, on those quotes on Pinterest and Google. They're just there all the time. But let's be real, most of us, we don't know what that actually means in real life. For example, for someone, intuition, it feels like a random hunch, or for others, it's that quiet voice inside them that is saying, don't sign this deal or don't call this person right now. So you have worked with people who have, you know, who make billion-dollar calls and
Hmm.
split-second decisions. So how do
Right.
they know when it's intuition and how do you define it?
Well, everyone kind of defines intuition differently, but I would say whatever is speaking to you without, that's your inner voice, your gut feeling. And most of the successful people that you kind of mentioned and outlined listen to their inner instincts. And because, the universe, or those of you that are spiritual, can come to the conclusion that we have all the resources we need, to survive. And a lot of times we don't listen to that, or we don't, because we're so relying on what other people think. Maybe we're trying to people please, or we were raised in an environment that other people know best, and so therefore we start to defer to other people to make the important decisions that we really should have been making ourselves.
That is such a clear, framework that you've given to us. Also, yeah, that was so great. Also, do you think that most people they even listen to intuition, or do they just override it because logic it feels safer? What do you think about it?
Well, I think a lot of people may not feel that it's logic, being that it's intuition, so they may tend to ignore it, defer to the experts, and I use experts in quotation marks because that's subjective. So, and we're taught kind of like a lot of times, especially if you're raised in an environment where as a child you're taught to be seen and not heard, it can then cause you less likely to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, that's what's going to lead. When you don't trust yourself, that's going to lead to the self doubt. That's what's going to lead to you starting to question, everything around you.
Hmm. I feel this so deeply, actually because intuition it whispers while ego and logic they scream. And that is so, so powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Also,
I mean,
mhm, yeah, you can continue.
yeah, no, it's just that we do need to go back to listening to our inner gut, because a lot of times, even people who don't, and I've done this too, I've been guilty of this too, where a situation may have unfolded where I said, what, my gut feeling was kind of telling me this, and I didn't listen, and I should have.
Mm, mm. That is so true. Also,
Right?
everyone online, they love to say. kill your ego. But okay, let's be honest. Here's my take on it. Okay, ego, it isn't always the villain, is what I feel. Sometimes it is something that gets me out of my bed and pushes me to dream big and, just to have that one step ahead. So, is
Hmm.
ego really the enemy, or can it be an ally if it is managed well? What do you take
I
on it?
don't. The ego, again, in my perspective, is there to protect us. So it can be an ally, and there might have been some things like in the past that might have scared us, or maybe back to our ancient days, caveman days. So the brain and the ego is created to protect us, and fear is one of the byproducts of the ego. And there were times where fear is justified. Obviously, when we're in a hunter-gathering days, we had to avoid, saber-toothed tigers, dinosaurs, other types of predators, other, tribes, that can destroy us. So there is that need to be fearful. But of course, in this day and age, we don't necessarily have those dangers anymore, but our brain is still the same. So a lot of times the ego, if we look at the ego, it's there to protect us. And now it may not always do the best job of protecting us, but it's there to protect us from danger. It's there to protect us from harm and keep us safe. Unfortunately, sometimes keeping us safe might be living a life that is of deprivation, of not doing what you really want to do, because it might be a bit scary. So, and sometimes the ego can get that protection can get us away from trusting your inner self. But in an ideal situation, we'd love it to be an ally, the ego.
That is so true, and I totally agree with you on this. That is so, so true. Also, in your experience, can it fuel success without eventually burning everything down, or is it vice versa?
Can it certainly can fuel success, if it's not operating out of fear. Because if it's operating out of fear, it can unintentionally burn things down. Because again, at the end of the day, protection is what's really needed. And
Mm-hmm.
so that can definitely add to things.
That is such a fresh perspective to it. Also, you call presence the ultimate edge in high performance. And I totally get that. But let's be honest, staying present is really hard, especially when everything is riding on the moment. There is so much chaos, there is everything going on. So let's picture an athlete in a championship game or a CEO who is pitching investors. So your brain instantly goes to, what if I fail? Why does the mind it fight the presence so much? And is there one quick technique that you use with clients to ground them instantly when the pressure hits, when this question keeps on hitting them? What if I fail? And yeah.
Well, yeah, and that I'm glad you asked that. I would say really the important thing to do is to trust your instincts and to really visualize even before you're about to go to this, whether you're an athlete or whether you're the corporate CEO, spend some time way before it and visualize it in your head, like imagine the scenario playing out, but do it in a sense where you're imagining or visualizing the event or the meeting or the sales being a complete success. And you do this over and over again several times because the brain does not know the difference between fiction and reality. So it can then, through the rehearsal process, be able, because you're mentally rehearsing it. And by that mental rehearsal process, you're more likely to be extremely successful.
So true, so true. Also, that is so insightful. Also, I love this combination, intuition and presence. So when they meet, that is when real magic happens, right? But here's the challenge. Most of us, we plan everything, our day, our career, even our creativity. We plan it so much. And so, what happens when someone says, forget the rigid plan? I'm going to trust my gut and stay present. So, is it a huge risk, or do you believe that's where the breakthroughs they really come from?
It's a combination of both because it is a risk, but it can also be a breakthrough. And it's almost important if you really want to have a breakthrough, you do have to take some sort of a risk. So I would say definitely go for it, but also have a plan in place in case it doesn't work out or in case you fall flat. So, or at least temporarily fail at that particular endeavor.
Hmm. Also, do you think that this ability to trust presence over planning can it be developed, or is it something that you're either born with or not?
I think so. I think planning is good. Absolutely. So totally, I think it can work well if proper planning is there. Um, so with taking risks, I often say taking calculated risks. So meaning that you're not just going recklessly into something, but you're actually doing some deep down and deep dive planning.
Hmm. So true. Okay, let's wrap this up with something practical. If someone is listening right now, is stuck in overthinking, spiraling in what ifs and second guessing. So, what is that one tiny shift they can start today to move out of ego mode and into intuitive flow? Yeah.
So the important thing is to take action and not to spend time in that indecision mode. So take some small actions that you can implement rather than saying, because a lot of people will say, well, someday I'm going to do this or someday I'm going to do that. No, take specific action now, today. And when you're able to do that, you'll have much more success in, again, whatever it is you set out to do. So
Mm, so true. Also, for people who are still questioning, so are we talking about weeks, months, or years before they start feeling a difference in, after practicing or after having a routine that you just shared?
I think it's gonna be compounding over time. So you should start feeling things in days, but you want it to last long term. So you might notice by these small day to day actions that eventually you're just gonna full on have a major breakthrough.
Mm.
So it's gradual, but even a little thing, if you feel slightly better than you did yesterday, that's a great thing.
So true. Also, is there anything that you would love? Is there any story or a phase which you would love to share with people who who would still want a very relatable story to resonate with? Is there anything that you would love to share with us?
Well, in my time you work as a college professor, I can tell you so many students who started the semester acting very shy, playing very small, very timid. And then by the end of the semester, they were the ones really participating the most because they had that safe space and they were able to really tap into their truer selves.
So true. Um, Albert, thank you. This has been incredible, and
Well, thank
I'm
you
so
so
sure.
much.
Yeah, I'm so sure that people they resonate with you. Also, thank you for showing us that when intuition, ego, and presence they come into alignment, we don't just perform better, we live better and we stay better. So here's my takeaway for you listening. Tonight, take 60 seconds, pause, put down the phone, breathe, and ask yourself, what is one thing my intuition has been whispering that I've been ignoring? Write it
Mhm.
down. That small act might change everything. Thank you
Absolutely.
for joining me on Divine Decode. And I am Pragya Malvia. And if this episode gave you clarity, share it with someone who needs it. Until next time, stay curious, stay present, and keep decoding life's magic. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. Thank you so much.